changes have been made to the Citizenship by Investment program of St. Kitts and Nevis to ensure what officials say would boost international investor confidence and bolster St. Kitts and Nevis's reputation globally. According to information released from the Citizenship by Investment Unit, the changes include the introduction of a new investment option called the Sustainable Island State Contribution, or SISC, and would be contributions to St. Kitts and Nevis in the following 7 areas. 1. Increasing local food production. 2. Transitioning to green energy. 3. Diversifying the economy. 4. Attracting and supporting sustainable industries. 5. Evolving the creative economy. 6. Recovering from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. And 7. Expanding social protection and safety nets to protect the most vulnerable. Mr. Michael Martin, head of the St. Kitts and Nevis Citizenship by Investment Unit, said in a release, quote, "In this ever-changing and unpredictable world, it is imperative that the government of St. Kitts and Nevis and its Citizenship by Investment program continue to adapt to the needs of our people and to attract the right kind of international investment necessary to uplift our country. While we have always been the benchmark of the global investor immigration industry, we understand that in order to remain as one of the most sought-after economic citizenship programs in the world, we need to continue to evolve and forge a path for ourselves that is sustainable in the long term," end quote. Clearly, the CIU and the government are taking preemptive steps to avoid adverse decisions by countries against St. Kitts and Nevis. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline. Socio-political commentator Dwyer Astafan is calling on current Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew to fix the non-performing situation with several Chinese developers. Astafan said the Chinese developers seem to have substantial power, which they have wielded, yet some have substantially large and unfinished projects, all approved under the Citizenship by Investment program. According to Astafan, blame has to be laid at the feet of 2 former prime ministers, namely Dr. Denzel Douglas and Dr. Timothy Harris, whom he said allowed the conditions to exist.
You see, part and parcel of the problem also here is that we have opened the door to certain Chinese and other developers who have sold and have been allowed by the authorities to sell our citizenship at prices below the legal thresholds, allowed to do so by the authorities and to operate without limits and deadlines. They have scarred and defaced our landscape with unfinished projects and they seem to wield a heck of a lot of influence in high circles. Even now, look at what happened at the swearing-in ceremony. People from Galaxy sat in front of the Taiwanese. Look at what happened in the UN last September. People from Galaxy sitting in the General Assembly with the St. Kitts and Nevis delegation. How come they're wielding so much influence? How come they wielded so much influence before? How come it's continuing? Clearly, they have support somewhere up high, but that support is not in the best interest of the people of this country. And we are feeling it now. And it will only get worse if we don't sort it out. We know that at least one of these Chinese groups is close to both former prime ministers. Both of them and the sycophants and yes men around them caused this crisis and left it now for the present prime minister and his team to solve. And I frankly and respectfully do not think that either of the former prime ministers, Douglas or Harris, can be part of the solution because they were the major causes of the problem. Respectfully, nothing personal.
Major projects under the CBI program have run into investor issues, some having nothing to do with Chinese investment. Astafan is calling for speedy government action to recover the situation in the best interest of citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
It's beautiful. took one look at you and the angels started singing.
Another wonderful day.
What would you say about staying here for a few months or like a year, just so that we can be together again and just live and love and laugh and have fun and breathe?
Why are you hiding out on a little Caribbean island, singing in a beach bar?
When I came here, I was at peace, and I never left.
This is the beating heart of Nevis. This is what grounds me, what feeds my soul. It's where I found myself.
I hope your life here will be full of joy. Love this island, my son. She will give you more than you can imagine.
Want to buy some fresh fruits, vegetables, or ground provision, but don't have the time to go to the market or even to find parking? Look no further. Green Market and Delivery is your solution. Green Market and Delivery is an e-commerce store that sells and delivers local produce to customers in St. Kitts and Nevis. Anything you purchase, you can get fresh from the market and delivered directly to your door. Log on to www.greenmarketskn.com. Click on the e-store link, choose your items, and shop away. We have a wide array of products from fruits, vegetables, local products, spices and seasonings, and much more. Save time and energy. Shop on greenmarketskn.com, your one-stop shop for fresh local produce.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
A representative of persons living with disabilities in St. Kitts and Nevis has been invited to represent the Federation at an international conference in South Korea. Joseph Bergen, NAC DPI Director, has been invited by the organizing committee of the Busan World Disability Conference, which will be held in the Republic of Korea from August 7th to the 11th. He spoke to SK Newsline on Friday about this development.
DPI is an international or global organization that advocates for the right of persons with disabilities. And in mind that each and every one of the different associations in the different territories around the Caribbean region, like St. Kitts Association of Persons with Disabilities, Antigua Association of Persons with Disabilities, you have Jamaica Association, St. Lucia Association, are registered under this umbrella, like a global format. They are organizing this conference in Busan, South Korea. So, people about the region could have a voice at a global level as to where the rights of persons with disabilities are concerned. And there's also going to be a unification effort to try to bring all of the different regions under one global umbrella. So this is basically the main purpose of this visit. And me being the representative from St. Kitts and Nevis.
Mr. Bergen said while the conference may not serve as a means of addressing issues affecting persons with disability living in St. Kitts and Nevis, he believes he will get much from the conference for the benefit of the community.
This one will not be so much of a meeting that we can hear concerns, but if I have to, it would be more or less like in 2018 we had a DPI conference here, and it was held at the Marriott, where we was able to achieve and seen the ratification for the right of persons with disabilities ratified in St. Kitts and Nevis. Yeah, for the first time, we might have been a few of the very last. Most of the Caribbean regions already have this ratification into being. So now we had it done in 2018. We are further waiting legislation. So this is something that I can put on the table there to say, well, we had the ratification already. We are waiting legislation, and we could have other global partners behind our effort to reach out to our government agencies and see how much we could have this into being in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
According to the invitation letter to Mr. Bergen, the conference aims to address the challenges faced by 1.2 billion people with disabilities and discuss how the global disability community can meet these challenges in an effective and inclusive manner. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline. National Carnival Queen Shafia Gishard is currently in Antigua and Barbuda preparing to represent St. Kitts and Nevis in the Miss JC's Queen Pageant, slated for Monday, July 31st. The show, which is celebrating its Diamond Jubilee anniversary, will feature 9 contestants representing Antigua and Barbuda, the British Virgin Islands, Dominica, Haiti, Montserrat, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the United States Virgin Islands, and St. Kitts and Nevis. Shafia will be appearing in position number 6 and is confident of making the Federation proud, even with the understandable pressure of St. Kitts and Nevis' popularity in this show over the years. That's according to a press release from the National Carnival Committee. The reigning JC's Queen is Nikira Nichols of St. Kitts Nevis. According to the release, Shafia intends to use this pageant to bring awareness to people struggling with mental illness and the public's response to those who suffer this fate. As an advocate, she plans to continue her campaign utilizing her pageant platform to encourage stakeholders to prioritize mental illness and its impact on the society. The National Carnival Queen will then travel to Nevis to participate in the Miss Caribbean Culture Pageant, which is slated for August 7th at the Nevis Cultural Complex. This show returns after a 3-year hiatus due to the COVID-19 pandemic and will feature 9 contestants from throughout the Caribbean. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
It's beautiful. He took one look at you and the angels started singing.
Another wonderful day.
Ah! What would you say about staying here for a few months or like a year, just so that we can be together again and just live and love and laugh and have fun and breathe?
Why are you hiding out on a little Caribbean island, singing in a beach bar?
Shop on greenmarketskn.com, your one-stop shop for fresh local produce.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
The police commissioner has instructed that the chairman of the Police Federation be interdicted with immediate effect following recent remarks at a funeral. In what could be seen as an attack on the High Command, the embattled chairman issued a number of threats at the police High Command. Nika Lewis has this development.
The interdiction comes weeks after the Police Federation chair announced the battle lines were drawn at a funeral in St. Catherine for a slain police constable this month.
That the Federation is not going to be muzzled, intimidated, nor bamboozled. We negotiate with government, not with High Command. The Council of Deputies have no moral authority to tell us what to do when a court orders that we are to be paid overtime work and for service, that they should put in place a mechanism to capture hours so that the membership can be paid. I am not going to negotiate with High Command. Let the records be made clear that the battle lines have been drawn.
It took some in the comment section of the CVM TV live stream by surprise, and they began asking whether this was the place or time to make these demands of the police High Command. However, the tone grew more intense with the continued speech.
I also want to say to the High Command that the Council of Deputies must focus on their areas assigned to them and to leave the issue of capping hours work, because this federation that I lead is not going to be submissive to the place where rank and file membership leaves the citizens of Jamaica compromised in their safety. It will never happen under my watch, mark my word. I also want to say to High Command and to our Commissioner, God helps you if the membership is not paid their overtime come this month. I am tired of the abuse being meted out and believing that persons can call me to intimidate me. I have not seen the man nor woman that is going to lead me into fear so that I will retreat from doing what the membership have asked of me to do.
It's against this background, following an investigation, that it was instructed by the police commissioner that the corporal be interdicted. This means, among other things, he will receive only 3/4 of his salary with immediate effect. The General Secretary of the Federation, Corporal Arlene McBean, confirmed the developments in a voice note sent to the members Thursday morning. Efforts to get a comment from Corporal James Thursday proved futile. The Police High Command have not issued or made any public remarks on the matter since. Nika Lewis, CVM Live.
Discover St. Lucia. Venture through the lush foliage, see exotic wildlife, and uncover hidden paradise springs. This is the push of tourism officials attempting to solidify St. Lucia as the premier adventure destination in the Caribbean.
Since I became minister, there's a significant number of investments that we've approved for attractions and experiences within the adventure, within the nature subsector. And that augurs well for St. Lucia, that visitors coming in and have a wide range of options.
During the quarterly meeting of the Tourism Advisory Committee, Tourism Minister Dr. Ernest Hilaire emphasized the need for the tourism product to build on its successes while exploring new niche markets.
Where one of the projects that the ministry has put forward is an underwater sculpture park, which will help the diving sector to even gain greater prominence and attraction for visitors. So over the next few years, some of the projects that will be mentioned here will really refine and enhance St. Lucia's offering. So we are broadening the appeal of St. Lucia.
In 2022, St. Lucia secured the award for Caribbean leading adventure tourism destination. St. Lucia has also dominated as the Caribbean leading honeymoon destination, boasting an impressive 13 awards to its name. Dr. Hilaire says enhancements must also be made to better the cruise experience. Global Ports Holding, GPH, has been entrusted to deliver these upgrades.
They will be upgrading Point Seraphim, so it can take larger classes of ships. Yeah. They will be redoing the vendor's arcade. You can see it's tired, it leaks, it floods. It's really not appealing, so that will be redone. A boardwalk will be built from the vendor's arcade to the Sanssouci Bridge with, experiences along that boardwalk. So visitors who walk from the cruise ships down to Castries will actually have an entire, stretch for more experiences along the way. It will also create more opportunities for small entrepreneurs along that way. And of course, I must mention in Banan, where the fishermen are, that area, I'm sure you will all agree and totally support me in saying that it needs major upgrade. And I know you would agree. And part of the agreement with GPH is to build a fisherman's village there.
The tourism minister continues to champion the cause for increased local ownership within the sector.
So we have to be able to translate all the growth. We have to be able to translate all the progress in the tourism industry and make sure our people benefit from it. And that's why, for us, it's about getting more St. Lucians to participate and more St. Lucians to own the tourism industry.
According to the tourism minister, the idea is to create a thriving and inclusive tourism landscape where all players stand to benefit.
Police in Bangladesh have fired tear gas and rubber bullets during the latest anti-government protests there. The opposition blames the government for soaring food and energy prices. They want the government to be replaced with a caretaker administration to ensure fair elections next year. Well, let's get the latest from Dhaka with our correspondent Tanvir Chowdhury. Tanvir, you were with those huge protests in the streets yesterday, and then this violence took place at a sit-in today?
Yes, absolutely. That was one of the biggest gathering of the oppositions in many years. At the same time, there was a large gathering just a few kilometers away from where the oppositions were gathered by the ruling opposition party. So tension was already high. Right after the gathering, the opposition announced that they'll have a sit-in programs, all the intersection to the capital Dhaka, which connects with the rest of the country. This was not something provocative, but they said we'll have a peaceful sit-in as a protest. Now, around 11:30 local time today, what we are hearing that the police sort of interfered, and then protesters chased back at the police after they were attacked. In the process, dozens of opposition members were injured. At least two senior leaders were badly injured, beaten up by police. Two of them were detained. One of them has been released. So far, what we know, things are a bit calmer now. Now, what's important to realize that this police attack on the opposition was also been coordinated by the ruling party supporters, as used as an auxiliary force, and that's quite provocative. People were expecting that to happen because the ruling party has been threatening that we will deal with you in the street in our own way.
Well, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has been in power now for, 14 years? Is there actually any indication that she might be willing to leave office ahead of elections next year?
Highly unlikely. She's very adamant. She's counting on her economic success. Bangladesh did have a very good economic growth since she came to power. Started slowing down after the pandemic since 2021. And now the economy is really suffering. The food price is high, inflation is high, energy cost is high. A lot of these people who go in this opposition protests are actually ordinary people. They're fed up with it. People's salary hasn't been increased. At the same time, the election is on the horizon, the end of this year or probably January next year. So there is a big election mania. Typically here, people do not trust the ruling party to conduct the election. We have precedent here of election being conducted under neutral caretaker administration. And if you ask in the street, most people would want that. But the government said it's not in the Constitution. They got away with it, and she will stick to having an election as per Constitution, she said. Although there's been a lot of international pressure from the US, the EU, and the UN telling the government to have a peaceful election. Even day before yesterday, 14 congressmen wrote to the UN that there should be observer in this election in Bangladesh. And certain elite forces of Bangladesh should be barred from taking part in the peacekeeping operation. So a lot of pressure on the government to have a free and neutral election. And at the same time, the opposition is gaining momentum, and it wants to continue to put the pressure on the government to have a election under a caretaker administration.
Well, certainly tense times there in Bangladesh. Tanvir Chowdhury in the capital, Dhaka, for us. Thank you, Tanvir.
Chaos in Niger's capital, Niamey. Cars and buildings are looted and set ablaze near the headquarters of the ruling party. Outside the National Assembly, supporters of the coup celebrate. They back the Presidential Guard soldiers who unseated the president on Wednesday and applaud the army's decision to support the coup.
We always believed in the army, despite conditions that have tried to destabilize it. We believe that the army, by taking power, will create the conditions for the army to regain its values.
A group of soldiers appeared on television blaming Mohamed Bazoum for a deteriorating security situation and economic mismanagement. The Interior Ministry has banned all demonstrations with immediate effect. An unstable Niger, however, could further destabilize the Sahel region and the fight against armed groups linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIL.
I think the bigger concern is that these jihadist groups will also have an opportunity to not only expand their activity further into Niger, but also connect with other jihadist groups that are on the other side of Niger. So we're talking ISIS Libya, or the Islamic State West Africa and Boko Haram, or even so far as other groups across the region in East Africa.
The African Union, France, the United States, Germany, Russia, and the United Nations have all called for the immediate release of President Bazoum.
I spoke yesterday with President Bazoum. I don't know exactly where he is, but he was detained. He told me he was well, but he told me that the situation was very serious.
As Bazoum remains detained, the battle for power continues. Ahmed Idris, Al Jazeera.
In a riveting contest that left the fans wanting for nothing, the defending champions just held on, outlasting Stingers 68-62 to close out the series 2-1 and book a spot in the finals where they will meet longtime rivals Flyers basketball. Just as in the previous encounter, it was a seesaw affair, one that saw many lead changes and plays that shifted the momentum of both sides. Overs were greatly indebted to shooting guard Joshua Minner, who erupted for 30 points. The Missouri native had a balanced stat sheet, collecting 6 rebounds and dishing 7 assists. Teammate Alexis Jackson held down the middle, recording a near triple-double. The center tallied 13 points, pulled 17 rebounds while dishing 9 assists. He also had 5 rejections. For Stingers, Keroy Dragon Lee finished with a team-high 18 points. Minner pointed to composure as one of the reasons for the victory.
The mindset was just taking our time. I mean, because, you know, they so young, they just want to run up and down. If we do that with them, we lose. So with that lead we have, we just take our time, kill some time on shot clock, and it just make an easy jump shot.
Coach Bradbury Brown says his team had to put out maximum effort to get the job done.
The game was a very good game. We had to fight right down to the wire. Hey, it is what it is. It's playoff basketball. It's just about adjustment. Who can make the adjustment to suit the moment at the time.
Game 1 of the best-of-5 finals between Ovals and Flyers will tip off Wednesday night at 7. Sharif Sargent, ABS Sports.